Good morning. Today we shall do the third unit, that is deep waters. William Douglas, who lived from 1898 to 1980, was born in Maine, Minnesota. After graduating with a Bachelor's of Arts in English and Economics, he spent 2 years teaching high school in Yakima. However, he got tired of this and decided to pursue a legal career. He met Franklin D. Roosevelt at Yale University and became an advisor and friend to the president. Douglas was a leading advocate of individual rights. He retired in 1975 with a term lasting 36 years and remains the longest serving justice in the history of the court. The following excerpt is taken from Of Men and Mountains by William Douglas. It reveals how, as a young boy, William Douglas nearly drowned in a swimming pool. In this essay, he talks about his fear of water and thereafter how he finally overcame it. Now, notice how the autobiographical part of this selection is used to support his discussion of fear. It had happened when I was 10 or 11 years old. I had decided to learn to swim. There was a pool at YMCA in Yakima that offered exactly the opportunity to learn how to swim. The Yakima River was treacherous, dangerous. Mother continually warned against it, that never to go near the river, it is dangerous. The mother kept warning us and kept fresh in my mind the details of each drowning in the river. She also used to keep me updated that on so and so day so and so people got drowned, so that it remains fresh in my mind that I should not go close to the river. But the YMCA pool was safe. It was only 2 or 3 feet deep at the shallow end, and while it was 9 feet deep at the other, the drop was gradual. The slope from 3 feet to 9 feet was gradual. I got a pair of water wings and went to the pool. I hated to walk. I hated to walk naked into the pool, and show my skinny legs. It shows that he was very thin and he didn't want to show his legs to anyone because he was very thin. But I subdued my pride and did it. Now, the pride that I had, I subdued it. I did not take that into consideration for a while, and I walked naked into the pool with, though I showed my skinny, thin legs. From the beginning, however, I had an aversion to water when I was in it. Aversion means unfriendliness, a kind of dislike. This started when I was 3 or 4 years old and father took me to the beach in California. My father took me to a beach in California, and there it started that I started having fear of water. He and I stood together in the surf. I hung on to him, yet the waves knocked me down and swept over me. I was buried in water. My breath was gone. I was frightened. Father laughed, but there was terror in my heart at the overpowering force of the waves. So there he experienced that the waves are very powerful. The father knew that he had held the hands of the time was going to happen to him. But as say he got buried in water again and again by as the waves swept over him, he was fully terrified by it, frightened by it. And, and my introduction to the YMCA swimming pool revived unpleasant memories. As I was introduced to YMCA swimming pool, some memories came to my mind, and steered childish fears. And the childish fears that everybody has, the fears that a person has when he is a child or she is a child, that got steered. But in a little while, I gathered confidence. I tried to say, subdue the fears, and I gained confidence. I paddled with my new swing, watching the other boys and trying to learn by aping them. Aping them means copying them. I did this 2 or 3 times on different days and was just beginning to feel at ease in the water when the misadventure happened. So gradually I was getting used to it. I saw other boys, they were what and tried to copy them, and I was feeling comfortable in the water. The fear that I had that was almost gone. I was gaining confidence. But then that misadventure happened. I went to the pool when no one else was there. That was the misadventure. The place was quiet, the water was still, and the tiled bottom was as white and clean as a bathtub. I was timid about going in alone. I was timid. I was a little weak to go in alone in the swimming pool. So I sat on the side of the pool for others. I had not been there long when in came a big bruiser of a boy. A big boy, well built boy, came in. I didn't have to wait for long. In a little while, he came. Probably 18 years old. He had thick hair on his chest. He was a beautiful physical specimen. He had a well built body with legs and arms that showed rippling muscles. So in his legs and arms there were muscles that rippled. He yelled, "Hi, skinny! How do you like to be ducked?" Like a duck, he wanted to put me. With that, he picked me up and tossed me into the deep end, that is 9 feet. I landed in a sitting position, swallowed water, and went at once to the bottom. I was frightened, but not yet frightened out of my wits. I was not so frightened that my brain would not function. On the way down, I planned. My brain was functioning. So when I was going down, I planned. When my feet hit the bottom, I would make a big jump. So when my feet will touch the bottom of the swimming pool, I will make a big jump from there and come to the surface, lie flat on the surface, and pedal to the edge of the pool. That was his plan. It seemed a long way down. It took a lot of time for him to reach the bottom. Those 9 feet were more like 90 feet. And it seemed that it was a 90 feet distance. That much more time it took. And before I touched the bottom, my lungs were ready to burst because he had held his breath. And because of that, his lungs were almost ready to burst. But when my feet hit bottom, I called all my strength and made what I thought was a great spring upward. And I thought that I had pushed the bottom so hard and jumped high that immediately I will come to the surface. I imagined I would bob to the surface like a cock, just as a cock, if you put into water, it would bob up. In that way, I would also come out of the water. That's what I thought, I imagined. Instead, I came up slowly. I opened my eyes and saw nothing. He thought that he had reached the surface. He opened his eyes but saw nothing but water. Water that had a dirty yellow tinge to it. I grew panicky. I reached up as if to grab a rope and my hands clutched only to at water. I reached up means I tried to wave my hands and get hold of the rope, but I could not get hold of water only of rope, but only water came in my hand. I was suffocating. I tried to yell, I tried to scream, shout, but no sound came out. Then my eyes and nose came out of the water. Finally, his eyes and nose came out of the water, but not my mouth. But his mouth did not come out. I flailed at the surface of the water, swallowed and choked. He swallowed a lot of water and he got choked. I tried to bring my legs up, but they hung as dead weights, paralyzed and rigid. So the legs were not functioning at all. It seemed as if there was a lot of weight in them, and the legs were paralyzed, rigid, without any movement. A great force was pulling me under. It seemed as if something was pulling him down. I screamed, but only the water heard me. There was no one to listen to him, only the water was there. A great force was pulling me under. I screamed, but only the water heard me. I had started on the long journey back to the bottom of the pool. Again, that long journey, that 9 feet that looked like or seemed like 90, that same journey had started again. I struck at the water as I went down, expanding my strength as one in the nightmare fights as irresistible force. So I struck at the water. He was kicking the water as I went down so that he would come up. Expanding my strength. He was trying to say increase his strength, expand his strength as one in the nightmare fights. In the nightmare fights, say if you have a nightmare and if you are fighting with someone, then you gather all strength and try to fight. An irresistible force. That is an irresistible force. When you are in a fight in a nightmare, there is an irresistible force with which you try to fight. In that way, I tried to collect all my strength. I had lost all my breath. My lungs ached. My head throbbed. I was dizzy. But I remembered the strategy. I would spring from the bottom of the pool and come like a cock to the surface. The strategy was still in his mind. He was feeling dizzy. His lungs ached and was throbbing. I would lie flat on the water, strike out with my legs, and thrash with my legs. That is what was his plan, and he tried to keep that plan in his mind. Then I would get to the edge of the pool and be safe. I went down endlessly. I opened my eyes, nothing but water with a yellow glow, dark water. Now that water appears to be dark to him, and that one could not see through. He could not see through the water. And then sheer stark terror seized me. I was grabbed by sheer means only and only terror, fear. Terror that knows no understanding. When you are terrified, you don't understand anything. Terror that knows no control, you lose control over yourself. Terror that no one can understand who has not experienced it. Unless you have experienced that terror, you cannot understand what it is. I was shrieking underwater. I was screaming, shrill, high pitched cry I was giving under the water. I was paralyzed underwater, stiff, rigid with fear. Even the screams in my throat were frozen. Only my heart and the pounding in my head said that I was still alive. I could feel the pounding in my head and the heartbeats. Because of that, I felt that I was still alive.